discombobulated because that's not the gospel that I wanted read tonight. And I'm sure Deacon didn't want to read that either because that's a lot of names. It was a good exercise for his mouth, though. What I wanted read this evening was the gospel of the wedding in Cana, which is one of the options, because at the wedding in Cana, as you all remember, Our Lady directs the servants to Jesus and tells them to do whatever he tells you, which is exactly a summary of Mary's mission. She's always telling us to do what her Son tells us to do. And today we're celebrating what's on the traditional calendar, Our Lady of the Eucharist, which is a whole nother tie-in with the reading, which I'm not going to go into because that would keep us here for another hour or two. But it's also on the more modern calendar, Our Lady of Fatima, which is why we're celebrating it up this evening. And the collect of today's Mass is one of those collects which really summarizes everything very well. That for the salvation of the world, she comes and asks us to pray, particularly the Rosary, and to offer sacrifices. Not just putting up with inconveniences, but actually doing things which we don't like and are uncomfortable, so that we can offer that pain for the salvation of the world. And I'm going to speak on this in a couple of Sundays, so I'm not going to belabor the point right now. But our participation in Christ allows our sacrifices to be effective for the salvation of the world. So Our Lady encourages very strongly to do that, to pray and to sacrifice, so that the advancement of the reign of Christ may happen. Which is, of course, again, going back to Cana, what she's all about. She's there to further God's greater glory in her Son. This is why I have to speak often about the fact that Catholics very often fall into one of two errors on either side of the correct way, and that is to either diminish the role of Mary, which is absolutely wrong, or to be superstitious about it, which is also wrong. But while avoiding both errors, we want to remember that the path of Mary always leads to Jesus. And that's where the first line of the collect comes in. Who gave your mother to be our mother. And so I want to share a couple of thoughts about Mary as mother. Now, unfortunately, all of us have a slightly tainted view of motherhood because we have imperfect mothers. Sorry, ladies, but that's the way it is. Okay? No matter how good you are imperfect. I would hope, though, that your children at least understand motherhood, even if it's imperfect motherhood, and can therefore look to our Blessed Lady as mother, even when sometimes they can't look to you as mother in all ways because of your imperfections and limitations, just like we all have. Again, it's not a matter of judgment, it's simply a matter of fact. We're all limited, just like I'm supposed to be father, but I'm not always the best father I can be. But she is. That's the whole point of this. She is the perfect mother, and no matter how imperfect our human parents are, no matter how old you are, I'm not just speaking to the young people here, no matter how imperfect your parents are at whatever age, we all have Mary as our mother. And I think it is a healthy thing for us to develop that motherhood, to really look at her motherhood in somewhat more earthly terms. I'll give you the most example first. If I'm having trouble sleeping, sometimes I'll call her to the bedside and ask her to help me go to sleep. I confide a lot of things to her, a lot of intentions, and I've gotten better about it as I've gotten older and grown in this. The thing about Christianity is God doesn't just throw things to you as freebies all the time. He makes you work for it, because only the things that we work for are of value. And it requires faith and trust. So in other words, you can't just simply say, oh, I'm just going to give this to Mary and she's going to wave a magic wand and everything's going to be all right. You have to really trust her with it. And that means it's all yours. And I do this more and more, as I said, in my life. For example, Totus Tuus, that summer program that a lot of you participated in. You know how hard it is to find people to be on the teams? Well, they're here in front of you, right? At least that's what I first thought. But then I was like, you know what? This is your program. You want it to happen? It's all yours. You find me the team members. And I kind of just let it go. I get a little bit nervous and I try to squash that down and say, nope, I've given it to Mama. It's all hers. And you know what? I have to turn people away. I have to tell people, sorry, there's no room for you. Of course, Corona Apocalypse helped with that too, because everyone else is shut down, and please God, we don't shut down Totus Tuus. But the point is not about Totus Tuus, but the fact that we have to actually trust. Now you say, well, I've prayed my Hail Marys, I've prayed my rosaries, nothing's happening. Part of the problem, of course, is, and that goes to unanswered prayer, is if you're praying for a person, that other person has to be open to those graces. She's powerful, and some of us are really dense. And therefore, no matter how powerful she is, it takes a while to break through. So we have to be patient in our prayer. It's not that Mary doesn't work on our behalf. It's that the other person's not cooperating sometimes with what we're praying for. But this goes to so many things. To simply say, your mama, you take care of this. You protect me. You console me. You bake me the cookies. All right? Now, at Fatima and other places, she also sometimes has to pull out the chancla, or the belt, right? She's got to say, look, people, I've been trying to tell you, I'm your mother, I care for you, I want what's best for you, but if you don't get it together, Daddy's going to have to take you out back. And that's what she's doing. She's constantly saying, look, I just want you to just listen. Please listen. Mothers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of you do it less patiently than you should, but you know what I'm talking about. Because you really do what's best for your child. And your child is going to do their own thing. Welcome to life. If you're ever frustrated about that, mothers, just remember, this is probably a reward for your past life. She wants to be our mother, but she will not force it on us, just like God does not force himself on us. So what I'm encouraging you this evening is, again, no matter what your idea of motherhood is, all of the good you have in your life, in your mind, in your experience of motherhood, she has it a lot better. So turn to her in confidence, pray her rosary, and foster a relationship with her. Is it exactly the same kind of relationship you're going to have with your earthly mother? Of course not. In some ways it's going to be more difficult because she's not there in bodily form actually baking you cookies. And in some ways it's going to be better because she's going to probably be a lot more gentle and patient than your earthly mothers are. But the point is that she is mother. And the only way that you can really experience that is to, in faith and in trust, accept it and live it. And then you will see that you're going to regret having not done it.